Hey y'all, I am back with another DIY embellishments video, and this time I'm going to be sharing with you how I used these super cheap stamps from Michaels to create some fun little embellishments. So let's get started. I'm going to start with some cork. This is kind of one of my go-to pieces of texture to use whenever I'm stamping, like creating embellishments with stamps. I love cork. I always have. I feel like for me, it'll never go out of style just because I use it in a lot of projects. And it's just one of my favorite things to use whenever I'm creating an embellishment cluster. And so I'm just going to use a few of these stamps and I'm just going to simply stamp them right onto the cork. Now I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink. I'll link it down below. But it is a pigment ink, and so you have to be careful with when you're using. It takes a little bit of time to dry, but it's the most like crisp black ink that I own. And so whenever you're moving around these little pieces, you just have to kind of be careful not to get it all over your fingers. And I'm going to use some, you can certainly cut these out with scissors. I have punches that I reach for a lot that I've had in my stash for years. And so I'm going to use those to punch these out. Now I will keep some of these as is, but I'm going to step it up a notch and just kind of create a full on layered embellishment just because I want to kind of show you some different ways that you can use these, but I'm going to punch those out. That was super easy and quick, and those stamps, I think, were like $1.99 for a pack of like four. Some came with four, some came with five, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. And there's some really cute designs. I love the camera. The camera is probably my favorite, and then I love the little earth, and there's a couple of sayings like that says, "Let's go," and then love this place or something like that. So I thought that was neat. And those are sayings that you can use in almost anything. So for this next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp repetitively the rainbow, and I'm just going to kind of decide what area I like best, and then I'm going to cut it down to size. So I'm going to continue stamping that. And the ink that I'm using is, it's called Blossom by Close to My Heart. Now, unfortunately, it looks like they discontinued this color, but they do have a color that's very similar called, of course, now I forget it, is Smoothie. That's what it's called, Smoothie. And I think it's probably really similar. It's a deeper pink with like a slight red tones. It's a really pretty pink, like a bubblegum pink kind of, but maybe a little bit darker. And then the next thing I'm going to do is grab one of these other stamps that says "Let's Go," and it has a cute little road sign on it, and I'm just going to stamp it repetitively again, and then decide what spot I like the best, and then trim it to size, or trim it to the size that I want. Now, if you feel like you're not stamping straight, or you feel like you're just not getting a good impression in certain areas, you can almost always just cut down the size that you want. So I recommend like pre-stamping a bunch of, if you want to create a bunch of embellishments, doing this step maybe first and just stamping a bunch of different scraps and seeing what you like and what you don't like, putting aside what you don't like, and then using what you do, obviously. And so, and then you can always save the ones you don't use, you can always put them in your scrap bin and like pull from them another time. And then you have like a piece of pattern paper that you didn't have in your stash before. So just something to keep in mind. You can always keep these, the as is, and just add them to projects as you go. Like you can have just a little bin that has like little scraps with pre-made pattern paper that you've made. For the sake of the video, I'm going to show you how you can create a full embellishment, but some of these I would probably put aside and just use or create. Oh, there goes my baby hairs. Anyone else postpartum have the worst baby hairs around the frame of your face? I'm getting like way off track, but it's bad. Like I feel sometimes like I'm constantly trying to spray them down with like hairspray, and I don't like hairspray, period, but I have to do something just because I feel like they're sticking up, and I see patients every day, and I feel like super distracting to be talking to people about serious things, and then my hair is sticking straight up, and on top of that they're curly. Okay, so the next step is I'm just gonna make a little cluster embellishment like I mentioned before. I'm gonna use a couple of little wood veneers that are also from Close to My Heart. I don't know if I mentioned that ink was Close to My Heart earlier. The ink was Close to My Heart Blossom, the pink one, but they don't have it anymore, so I would look at the one called Smoothie. The second ink that I use, which is the navy, is called Sapphire. That's also close to my heart. And then I'm using these little wood veneer arrows that are close to my heart as well. And they're on there under the embellishments tab. And I actually am going to link those down below too. So there's a little corner piece there. I've mentioned this before. I love adding corners to like my scrapbook pages or to really anything, to traveler's notebook pages, to what's something, oh, like the Even Project Life, putting a little, cute little corner piece or like covering half of the card with a different pattern. All that to say, I like creating kind of those pre-made ones, and you can kind of just reach for them whenever you're wanting to create something pretty quick. Here I have a rectangular piece, a vertical rectangular piece, and I just added a cute little plaque looking label, and then I'm going to add a little piece of cork right on top of that, and I'm going to call that one done. I love the way that that turned out. I love that little pattern paper with the stamped "Let's Go" on the back, and it works perfectly for a beach album that I'm going to work on here in a few weeks. I say a few weeks. I don't know. Maybe a few days, probably a few weeks, but it could be months. I don't know. These days, I never know when I'm going to be able to create stuff. For this one, I added the world or the earth, and then I cut half of it off, and I'm looking for little phrase. Almost always, this is a staple for me. I feel like maybe I should do a video on things that are like staples in my stash. One of the things are tiny text words. I don't feel like I ever have enough, just because I use them, and they're just the kind of the finishing touch for a lot of my projects. So if you don't have those, I'd recommend looking at the Tim Holtz book. You can get those, I think, either at Michael. I know you can get them at Michael's. I'm pretty sure you can get them at Hobby Lobby, but you can also get them online too. And I normally try to link those in most of my DIY embellishments videos, and I'll try to link those down below today to make sure that they still have them on Amazon. But I feel like those are a big, I just get a lot of use out of them, I guess. So I find, and then anytime you can maybe create some like on sticker paper is great too. Like if you have white sticker paper, and you can use a little typewriter font, I think that'd be pretty easy as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is just create a card with a stamped background with the earth, and then I'm going to add a little heart. The heart stamp I'm actually going to pull from a close to my heart stamp set called A Piece of My Heart. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I posted a cute little mini album page that I didn't record, but I posted it, and it had this little stamp set. It featured this stamp set, which I'm obsessed with. And so I'm going to just stamp the little heart, the open heart, just kind of in between these earths, and then I'm going to cut down, again, I'm going to use kind of that same technique of cutting down the space that I like the best. And then the other thing that I would say, this technique works great because you get that finished look. You don't have to worry so much about it like being perfect and then like the edges being perfect, because when you cut it down, it really looks like that repetitive like pattern, just the way that pattern paper is really supposed to look, where it's just continuous off the page. And so I really love the way that this turned out. So I'm going to cut a few pieces. Another thing that I'll mention is, yes, I use punches at the very beginning, but you'll notice I really didn't use any other tools other than like a trimmer and scissors the rest of the time. I mean, other than some inks and glues and stuff like that. But my point is that you can create embellishments with scissors and a trimmer, or really just scissors if you have that. I didn't have to use punches for those, but I like a really nice circle. And if I tried to cut these with scissors, that would be terrible. So next I'm just going to add a couple little circles. So I already have the circle pattern in the background, which is the earth. And so I added a cute little cork right on top, and then another little pattern down in the corner. And then I'm going to add another little circular like wood veneer down in the corner there. And I really love the way that turned out. So I'm going to give you guys like a close-up glimpse of these in the camera. I don't know what I'm doing now. What am I doing? Oh, I guess I'm going to create one more. But I'm going to give you guys a close-up look here at the end, and then that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this process video. Let me know if you did by giving me a thumbs up, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.